Hi everyone, it's Greg from the E-Spot again, and I am here to go over 5 more of my posters from my Eurovision poster design project. Don't really have a good title for it yet, but um, that's a lie actually, I do have a title for it. But anyway, this poster project, it came about because I wanted some Eurovision posters for my apartment. Now, the way they're printed and presented right now isn't really like how I intended. I actually designed some other kind of posters for the living room because these ended up being wildly bigger than I expected and would have cost way more to get framed than I wanted. So right now they're kind of just taped up in my little Eurovision shrine here. And I'll go over some of all of this in a later video. But right now, let's focus back onto these posters. So by the mid-90s, design had kind of leapt forward greatly since the late 80s and the early 90s, especially in terms of the printing boom, especially in the comic book industry. We saw like really thick glossy pages and bright vivid imagery that we hadn't really ever seen before. So I really wanted that to be reflected in this poster, and you could even see it in the design branding of the contest at the time with its, vivid orange, extreme angles, extreme everything. It was the 90s, so everything was big and extreme. So now we're in the early 2000s, and now computer graphics have really taken over. People are pretty much doing almost everything on the computer, especially for poster design. And so I really wanted to go for something that was very contemporary to the early 2000s. And so this has actually been inspired by the Coachella designs of the early 2000s to now, because the Coachella design hasn't really changed much. But you can see it in the landscape of the photo below, the way that I have stacked all of the artists together, though since this is a contest, not a festival, in the same way, I have it a bit different. And I still try to incorporate the branding from the Estonian contest. So these next 3 don't really fit into the year by year that I've been doing for each decade. They celebrate decades of winners, 2 decades of winners actually, the decades that I've been watching the contest actually. And I wanted to do them in the style of one of my very favorite poster artists named Drew Struzan. He's an American poster artist. He's done so many classic movie posters. Back to the Future, Star Wars, Harry Potter are just under the surface of everything that he's done. He is a very prolific graphic artist, illustrator, and a huge inspiration. The first one I did was for the artists who won from 2001 to 2011. And it's a bit more sketchy than what I intended. It was my first time kind of trying any kind of style like Drew Struzan, and I have not been illustrating for quite a while, and I think you can tell in this piece. But I was still really happy with the composition and how it all came together, and it was a really good warm-up for what came next. I felt like after the first poster I really learned a lot. I did a different poster for the Spice Girls in between all of this, just as another big warm-up to illustrating. But this definitely is a bit more in vein of what Drew would create, even though it's still nowhere to his level. But I'm really happy with it. It really is evocative of the style that I really wanted to create, and I feel like it's me while also inspired by what I was inspired by. I don't think it's I think it's fairly clear who inspired this poster. The next poster is actually what I would consider the thing that glues it all together. It is the cover piece. It's something that I have decided is basically the cover of the book that all of these posters will be collected into, which you might be able to see behind me here. I don't have peripheral vision. But anyway, uh, it is inspired by the travel posters of the 1960s and the 70s. Up until now, people still love this kind of style. Even without text, I think you can get a good idea of what I was going for. They are stacks of arrows, each basically of the very popularized voting blocks from Eurovision, and showing how it's all kind of built together, showing a satellite, the broadcast, the globe. It's a very abstracted representation of what Eurovision as a whole has been. And I'm very happy with how this one turned out, so much so that I have put it all together into this book, where you can see that I have put all of the work in that a lot of this video and the video before it has delved into, plus a lot more. Hopefully I can get this more further proofread and finished at some point as well. So anyway, that has been the history of poster design via the Eurovision Song Contest. I hope you enjoy these posters. If you want to support any of the work that I've done, please visit any of the links in the description. Follow our socials, like and subscribe this video. Do all of those things and we would really appreciate it. If you can see, I'm wearing another shirt that I designed that I am taking with me to Liverpool this weekend. Still can't believe I'm saying all of that. I will be meeting Renata there and we are gonna have a blast, and I have a lot more designs that I have actually created, and I will show those off in another video. So stay tuned and do побачення.